Greetings, all you movie junkies and entertainment lovers. I'm your host, King Brandis, and I'm once again joined by my co-host, Javier. How's it going today, Hav?
Oh, it's going fine. Thank you very much.
Yes, and welcome to our weekly show, Movie Junkies Media Talk. We got lots of great stuff to talk about today. But before we talk about our topics for today, there's one very quick little piece of news that came out just before the show started. So we're just going to quickly talk about that off the top, and that is this. So, of course, we've known for a very long time now that Sam Neill, uh, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum are all going to be returning for Jurassic World Dominion as their characters that they, of course, originally played in the original film. But what we haven't known is how big of a role their characters will play, because, of course, Jeff Goldblum did appear in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and it was a very, very short appearance. So a lot of people have been wondering, well, how big of a role will these characters have in this film? And, well, according to Sam Neill, they are, in fact, going to have quite a sizable role in the film. This is what he said. He said, "We're all the way through the film. Jeff and me and Laura." Neil told Yahoo Movies UK this week. So that's coming to us from Sam Neill. So it's now confirmed they are apparently going to be a major part of this film. They're not just going to be showing up for a scene or two. They are in fact fully a part of it. And this reminds me a lot of when The Force Awakens was coming out. A lot of people didn't know when it was announced that Mark Hamill would be coming back and that Carrie Fisher would be coming back and Harrison Ford would be coming back. A lot of people were like, well, how large of a role will they have? And they, of course, had a pretty sizable role in those movies. And, honestly, I was expecting them to have a sizable role in this film. I mean, I was definitely disappointed, as I think a lot of people were, by the lack of Jeff Goldblum in Fallen Kingdom, especially considering they, pretty much showcased him in all of the trailers and stuff, to suggest that he was going to have a major role in the film, when really I think it would have been better if they just didn't put him in the trailers at all. But I get, you want people to come see a movie, but, obviously it's a bit of deceiving marketing, I think. But anyway, so apparently that they're going to be a major part of this film, and what we're hearing about this movie is that this is going to be essentially like the Rise of Skywalker of the Jurassic franchise. So basically all 6 movies that we've gone are going to basically come together for this film. A lot of other characters, of course, are returning from the other previous movies, Jurassic World, the first one stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see. So Harv, what are your thoughts on Sam Neill essentially confirming that Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern are in fact going to be having pretty sizable roles in the film?
I think it's great. I would be pretty disappointed if they didn't have a sizable role in that. Like, I think it's really good. Like, I was disappointed that we didn't see a lot of Jeff Goldblum's character in Fallen Kingdom, and so I'm quite happy that they're gonna have a good role in the film.
Yes, and I mean, it's not to say that they could have particularly done that much more with Jeff Goldblum in Fallen Kingdom. I think the main problem was the fact that they made people believe that he had a bigger role in the film than he actually did. I think it would have been just a better of a surprise if they just kind of, didn't show any footage and just kind of, let it be a surprise how much of the film he was in, because I think that I think people would have still been disappointed, but I don't think they would have been quite as disappointed, if you know what I mean. But anyway, so if you guys have any thoughts on that, be sure to jump in the comments down below and let us know what you think. And now let us move on to our first topic for today, and that is this. Universal has officially announced that apparently the next film that they are set to remake or essentially do a revival of is Twister. Apparently, yes. Apparently, Universal officially set to remake Twister, and they're currently in talks with Joseph Kosinski. Kosinski, I think his name is, who I believe has recently done Top Gun Maverick. I'm not quite sure what other stuff he's done. I believe he's done. I think he did another movie of Tom Cruise, I believe. But yeah. Anyway, so he is apparently in talks to direct the film Twister. Now, Twister is an interesting movie. Now, I myself am not particularly a fan of Twister. I know this film has a lot of, mixed, reactions to people. Some people fondly remember it, others don't fondly remember it. I think if there's anything that can be said for it is that the effects, a lot of the effects, especially the practical effects, are pretty impressive. And but other than that, I myself am one of those people that honestly felt that it was pretty pretty ridiculous in terms of the plot and stuff. But I am not the type of person that just hates on a movie if there's something particularly I don't like about it. Like if a movie does something well, I will praise it for that. And one of the things that Twister did very well was its effects. But what are my thoughts on Universal announcing that they're going to be doing a remake of this? I on the one hand, I think that it could be good, and I've heard some people argue before that they should remake stuff that isn't quite as good. Right now, I know that Twister for a lot of people is a very fun movie, and that's great. I'm not the type of person to hate on stuff when other people love it. To me, it just didn't work well. I'm sure if I saw it like as soon as it came out, because Twister was a big movie when it came out, and even got like its own ride, Twister Ride Out at Universal Studios and everything. So it was, but it was very much a film of its time. And so can it work today? Can it work today? Honestly, I don't know. I honestly do not know. On the one hand, I think that this kind of feels like, to me, and I'd be interested to know what you think about this, Harv, but to me this feels like Universal were literally just scrolling through their back catalog and going, what can we do remake next? And they just, Twister was a big hit when it came out. Let's do a new version of that. And honestly, I don't see, even people who are fans of that original movie, I don't really see being, particularly excited about this, especially considering that apparently is going the remake territory. They're not going to do like a follow-up. So, none of those characters that were in that original movie will be coming back and all. And in a way, obviously, of course, Bill Paxton unfortunately passed away a couple of years back. So obviously, if it was a sequel, I guess he wouldn't be in it. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Hav, what are your thoughts on Universal doing a remake of Twister?
Well, when I first heard the news, I was pretty... It was pretty bizarre for me. I have watched it before. The effects are pretty great. I definitely have to agree. I don't know if the remake is going to have any new effects like its original movie, but
it had a lot of
I didn't as well.
It had a lot of practical effects. The practical effects I thought were the better, because it did have a lot of CGI effects, a lot of like early CGI, like there's like part with like the cow kind of floats past and stuff.
Yeah,
but that stuff like that hasn't quite held up quite as well stuff. But I think a lot of the practical stuff that they did, I think, is still very impressive. And again, if they were to do a new Twister movie, it would probably just be all CGI anyway. So honestly, I think it's most likely that this film, if they remake Twister, I don't think it's going to do very well, to be honest.
It might do well, it might not, but we'll just have to see when it comes out.
Yeah, but do you think that Twister deserves to be remade, or do you feel like it was great for its time? The people who love it fondly remember it, but do you think that it deserves the remake territory?
If I was running Universal, I would say just leave it as its own thing.
Yeah,
Really.
because again, it does kind of feel like to me like Universal, like what have we not remade yet? Oh, Twister, that was a big hit. Let's do that. All right. So if you guys have any thoughts on Twister, be sure to jump into the comments down below. We will talk about a few comments and stuff after we've done our main topics. If you guys have any extra thoughts on it. Anyway, so let us move on to our next topic today. Our next topic today is this. Speaking of remakes or reimaginings, one of the upcoming ones that a lot of people were kind of skeptical of when it was first announced. But as the trailer has come out, a lot of people have become more and more excited about. And that is Candyman. Now, I have only ever seen the first two Candyman films, and the first one is a great movie. It's probably Tony Todd's most infamous role that he's most well known for. And it's a classic. It's great stuff. And the sequel, a lot of people hate on the two sequels that they did. I saw a second one. I thought it was fine, but it definitely, was quite what's the word? It was quite cheesy, I guess, compared to the first film. And so of course this remake is going to be very similar to what Blumhouse did with Halloween, where they're basically going to ignore the sequels. Of course, with Candyman, it's not quite as much. They're going to ignore the sequels, and they're just going to kind of do kind of a reimagining, kind of fresh new take on the film. But what a lot of us have been wondering, especially since that first trailer came out, is that, it has been confirmed that Tony Todd is in this movie. And for a while now, we haven't really known kind of how much of a role that he will have, or if he would even be playing the Candyman, or if he's just going to be having cameo appearance. Well, of course, Candyman was one of the movies that recently got, of course, its new release date. I believe it's now coming out sometime in September. It was really supposed to have come out already. It's supposed to come out in June, so we would have seen it by now. And they released this new clip, which was very interesting. It's a very short clip, but it was very much done with these essentially look to be these hand puppets or something. I can't quite remember. But what was very interesting about the clip is that Tony Todd's voice, which, he has an iconic voice. You hear Tony Todd's voice, it's him. And you can hear what is clear as day, his voice at the end of this teaser. And also in this teaser, there is some kind of a painting of the Candyman. And if you look really, really closely, it very, very much resembles Tony Todd. So, of course, the big question is, does this confirm that Tony Todd is, in fact, the Candyman in this new kind of reimagining? I think we're looking at a yes and no answer here. Now, look, I could be totally wrong. But from that, just based off that first trailer, I think that what we're looking at here is kind of sort of spiritual kind of new, fresh take on the character, where they're going to be doing some kind of a storyline where, what's his face? Yahya Abdul Mateen, I believe his face is, who's like the main character of the film. It looks like they're going to do some kind of a storyline where he himself is actually becoming the Candyman, or is essentially being possessed. It looks like they're going to kind of go for a Nightmare on Elm Street 2 kind of vibe, with possibly Tony Todd appearing perhaps at the beginning, at the end, perhaps, maybe. That's at least what I think they're doing. So I think he is going to be the Candyman, but also not going to be the Candyman, if that makes sense. So I know that's kind of what I think is going on here. Hav, what do you think is going here? Does this confirm that Tony Todd is in fact playing the Candyman, or do you think that actually, he's probably only going to have, one or two scenes? What do you think?
I honestly really hope. I would love if he just fully returned back, or fully came back to do the role of the Candyman. I would just absolutely love it if he did, and I do hope that it is a yes. Yours may be right, but I'm not too sure about it. But of course, we definitely heard him and everything, and in the trailer and everything.
Mhm.
And of course we saw the image and every as well. But we're not too certain. I'm not too certain. I don't really have any thoughts, but I am hopefully definitely praising that he is fully coming back as the Candyman.
You think he's fully, like, he is going to be the Candyman in this movie?
I really hope, but that's just me.
Do you think that they're going for kind of a Nightmare on Elm Street 2 kind of vibe with him like taking over the body of somebody, maybe? Because that's what
interesting
from that first trailer.
That would be definitely interesting, maybe. But
yeah. So I mean that's that. We're gonna have to wait and see. Hopefully it comes out in September, but of course it's looking like at this point, I think we'll be lucky if any movie gets a theatrical release of any kind in 2020. But anyway, so again, if you guys have any thoughts about that, be sure to jump in the comments down below. Just to let you know, guys, in live chat, we will make a little bit of time to answer some of the live comments once we've gone through any of the topics. And again, just try to keep your comments to stuff that we're talking about in the show. And if you want to see what the topics are that we're talking about, you can just check the description down below and you'll see everything that we're going to be talking about on today's show. All right, so let us move on to our next topic, and that is this. Anthony Mackie recently did an interview where, of course, he talked about, a lot of stuff. And one of the things, of course, he talked about was his upcoming show, Falcon and Winter Soldier. And in that, he said that that it is indeed going to feel like a 6-hour Marvel movie. And apparently, a lot of the people who have worked on this show, which of course is coming to Disney Plus. I don't know if it's coming out this year. It might be pushed back to next year now. I have no idea. But I believe that there have been some people that have come out who have worked on the show and have said that it is not working on it has not been like working on a regular TV show, that it feels like a movie. To me, this is great news because I was really, not to make this a Marvel versus DC thing, but I was really, really worried that we were going to be essentially be getting a CW-esque shows with all these Marvel shows with Loki, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, all of these Marvel shows that they announced are coming to Disney Plus. So to hear that it's going to be more of like a 6-hour movie, more along the lines of the production values of, The Mandalorian, which was great, by the way. That makes me happy. That very much makes me happy because, of course, it seems like when Kevin Feige announced all of these shows, it seemed like we were kind of getting less movies with the MCU in exchange for all of these different shows. And of course, there hasn't been any real trailers for any of these shows yet. I mean, we got that one kind of compilation that came out with the Super Bowl, and I believe it kind of showed a little bit of all of the shows. But from that, you really couldn't tell if it was how high the production values were going to be. Now, I'm still not super excited for this one in particular. I think the one that I'm most excited for and intrigued by is probably the animated one that they're going to be doing, the What If, which of course is based on the actual comics, Marvel comics. You know, the What If comics which were basically about like, you know, these interesting like alternate versions of, you know, a lot of the Marvel comics characters, essentially like new strange takes on them basically. And it looks like that's essentially what they're going to be doing with this, except it's going to be for like the MCU characters, it seems like. So I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. Harv, what are your thoughts on Anthony Mackie claiming that Falcon and Winter Soldier is in fact like a 6-hour Marvel movie?
It actually definitely makes me happy because, of course, I love The Mandalorian, and I think it's gonna be more like gonna be based on just the same story throughout the entire season. I I think it's really good. Hopefully, it has the same budget as The Mandalorian. Probably not, but just a high budget that isn't like the CW shows, because that would definitely disappoint me a lot. Just make it like the MCU movies, but except it's a show.
Yes. And that, I mean, even though obviously that's what we want, it isn't as easy as we make it sound to be. You know, I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
you know, you don't make as much money with shows as you do movies. I mean, you know, movies, you know, especially the MCU movies are most of the time are massive blockbusters making close to $1 billion worldwide for each film. A lot of times, you know, surpassing $1 billion, you know. And you can't, even with, you know, a high profile streaming service like Disney Plus, you know, you can't, you know, make that up basically. You just kind of, that is essentially, um, it's you can barely even make a fragment of what, you know, those big blockbuster movies make compared to what you can with a show. So, but the fact that they are willing to put in the production values of that level goes to show you that they really care, because they could half-ass it, and we could have it, you know, basically like Marvel CW shows basically. And for those of you who are perhaps not as familiar with the CW DC shows, they're very cheaply made. They have very low budgets. They don't, in my opinion, they don't have big enough budgets to be making superhero shows. But there you go. So this makes me happy. I think, and especially when you make shows like this, not just, you know, The Mandalorian, but other stuff like The Boys and everything on Amazon Prime. When you give stuff a high production value, word gets out. Word gets out about production values and stuff, and it makes people interested, you know, to watch, just to see, you know, because it's always good. It's always good, and I feel like, you know, the higher production values, a lot of times, the more intrigue that people, you know, will have into watching the show, because they're wondering, you know, what kind of crazy stuff might happen in the next episode, you know, because The Mandalorian, honestly, like, almost any scene from The Mandalorian could be in an actual Star Wars movie. So it's looking like it's going to be very much the same kind of a situation with Falcon and Winter Soldier, and perhaps not just Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm assuming the other shows will be like this as well. We won't know until obviously some actual real trailer comes out. But yeah, to go. And again, if you guys have any thoughts on that, be sure to jump in the comments down below and let us know your thoughts. All right. Now we move on to our last topic today before we perhaps jump into a few of our live questions here. And that is this. For a while now, we have been hearing rumors about a possible TMNT reboot, or sequel to the last film. And it's been kind of up in the air for a while. The last Ninja Turtles film didn't do quite as well as I think the studio had hoped, and of course that particular version, the Michael Bay Planet of Doom's produced version of Ninja Turtles wasn't particularly as well perceived, especially that first movie. Uh, Even though it did make a lot of money, um, and the second film, Out of the Shadows, made a lot of improvements. Uh, to the first film, it had a lot of downtime with the turtles. They tweaked the designs a little bit. It was a little bit more kind of tonally more what the turtles should be, or has traditionally been. But it didn't make particularly as much money. So for what I know, it's been kind of up in the air of whether or not, uh, we're going to be getting, what this next version of Ninja Turtles is going to be, and apparently it is in fact going to be a full-on reboot. They are now moving away from the Michael Bay produced version of Ninja Turtles. That version is officially done now, and I would have been perfectly happy if they would have done a third chapter of that, because I liked the direction that they went in, even though that first film was very, very weak and had a lot of issues. And the second film wasn't a perfect film either, but it was really like 10 times better compared to that first film. But now we're hearing that they're going to be going the reboot territory, but apparently it's not going to be live action. Apparently, this new version of Ninja Turtles is going to once again be CGI animated, like the 2007 film. And it's going to be produced by Seth Rogen's company, Point Grey Pictures. And they've actually announced a lot of the people who are going to be involved with this, which is exciting. And apparently, they've also kind of confirmed that there is, in fact, another film for, I believe it's for Netflix, that's going to be based on the Nickelodeon animated series, The Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I myself was not particularly a fan of, but there you go. If you're a fan of that show, you can look forward to that. But let me just read a little bit of the actual article here, just so we can get a sense of everything that is going on with the with the project. So here's what Deadline, the Hollywood Reporter is apparently reporting. This is what they said. They said the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are going back to animation for a new big screen adventure. Nickelodeon Animation will produce a CGI installment alongside Point Grey Pictures. The screen's run by Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, and James Weaver. Jeff Rao, co-director of the upcoming Phil Lord and Chris Miller produced animated film Connected, will direct from a script by Neighbours screenwriter Brendan O'Brien. This will be Nickelodeon Animation's first CG theatrical film. And follows the studio reviving the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise for the small screen in 2012 with a CG animated series. The studio is also teaming with Netflix for a 2D animated film based on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Ninja Turtles, we know what the Ninja Turtles are, but anyway. Anyways, this is what Ramsey Nato will oversee the new film from Nickelodeon. Josh Fagan is overseeing for Point Grey Pictures. Paramount Pictures will distribute the film, adding Seth, Evan, and James Genius to the humor and action that's already integral a part of Tmnt. Is going to make this a next-level reinvention of the property, said Brian Robbins, president for Kids and Family Entertainment at Viacom CBS. I'm looking forward to see what they do, and I know that Ramsey Nato and her team are excited to take the Nick Animation Studio in another great direction with their first ever CG animated theatrical movie. So there you go. So this is great news. This is great news. As a Ninja Turtles fan, I'm very excited that we're going to be getting a new version of the Ninja Turtles. I think that it needs to be CGI. I don't think Ninja Turtles really, especially now, I really don't think it belongs in a live action form. I think that it is best to go, full CG animated film, because I actually think that Tmnt, the 2007 one, is quite underrated, and I actually quite like that one. But a lot of people don't particularly like that one very much. I really like that one. who's to say this is anything like that one? It could be completely different. But hearing a lot of the names involved with this definitely makes me feel confident that this could be good. It seems like it's a lot of the right type of people are involved. A lot of people involved with a lot of various comedy movies and stuff. Because you gotta have comedy with Ninja Turtles. I mean, come on, it is a goofy concept of itself. Even though, the original comics were quite serious in tone, most of the time at least. All right, so Hav, what are your thoughts on it being official now that Tmnt is now getting a CGI treatment from Point Grey Pictures?
I'm actually really happy. I do not like the Michael Bay versions of the Ninja Turtles. I thought they were just they were like the Hulk. They were just so big and just really ugly.
Too big.
Yeah, too big. It didn't look well in like a live action environment as well. I really did not like it, but I am interested that they're doing a CGI another CGI adaptation of the Ninja Turtles, which I'm really happy actually, because I also do like the 2007 one, even though that one is a little bit underrated, which is fine, really.
Yeah, and are you happy with the people that are involved with this?
Yeah. I know it's like the first CGI film that they're doing, but I'm still keeping
You
my
mean Nickelodeon animation? You mean?
yes.
Well, it's the first theatrically released film,
Yeah.
CGI film they're doing.
Yes, but I'm still crossing my fingers that they do it.
Are you
really well.
not happy that Nickelodeon essentially owns the Ninja Turtles now?
Well, I mean, I did like the 2012 series. I thought it was fine, but it's not like the greatest adaptation for me.
And what are your thoughts on the two Michael Bay produced films themselves? Even though you weren't a big fan of the particular versions of the Ninja Turtles, did you like those movies? The movies themselves, or
the first film is terrible. I really do not like.
You really didn't like it.
Just some of the stuff that they just did with it, the designs of the turtles.
And the second film,
Out
of the Shadows.
Out of the Shadows is like the original TV series, but in fully live action.
Yes,
which was pretty cool.
It was good.
Yeah.
I think the first film is okay. I've only seen it twice. I've watched Out of the Shadows a couple times. It's very much a very fun movie, and that one actually gets a lot of very unfair hate. Actually, I would say, but it had great elements there. But I think like you said, I think like the designs, that was very problematic, and a lot of people just really were very negative towards that. And I think that I didn't never particularly minded them too much, because I kind of saw that they were kind of going for more of a realistic kind of take, but I don't think that particularly works with the Ninja Turtles, when it's a movie called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It has to be somewhat goofy. And again, for anybody in the comments screams at me, yes, I know that the original comics were very dark in tone. I know that. But I think the people who are involved with this are going to do a good job. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how much like the 2007 film is in terms of it's the kind of animation that they do, because I mean it's not every we haven't gotten like a ton of different versions of Ninja Turtles in movies. I mean, we've had the original guys in rubber suits. They did the CGI one. They did the Michael Bay one, and now we're getting this another CGI take. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that the one element that they really need is essentially to just have fun. Because I think Ninja Turtles always works better when it's fun. I think when they try to go a little too serious and too dark, I think it ruins it. I think what made the original 1990 movie so great was the fact that they just got the balance right, where it was, it was partly quite serious. It had a lot of, had a lot of depth to it, but it also had its moments of just pure joy and ridiculousness. And I feel like if they can take that perfect balance with that very first film and put it with this movie, this new CGI movie, then I think it could be great. So anyway, if you guys have any thoughts on that, I'm sure jump to comments, let them know. But yeah, anyway. So I think that is pretty much it. We're just gonna. I think we're just gonna answer one of the questions that we got today, which is from Skylar Star, which writes, "Is Godzilla versus King Kong trailer?" I don't know, Hav. What is Godzilla versus King Kong trailer? What does that mean to you?
I think does it mean that? I think it means is there any news of Godzilla versus King Kong
on a trailer being released? Yeah. Well, I don't know if you heard the news. We talked about it a little bit, but essentially, unfortunately, it looks like Godzilla versus Kong got pushed back to, I believe it's May of 2021. So it's now not it's not coming out for like almost a year now, and it's crazy how that it's been pushed back like 4 times now. Both due to the coronavirus and because they just needed more time to work on it as well. So what's crazy is that it's been in the can essentially for a while. Like it's had it's like its production wrapped like months ago, like around the time that Godzilla King of the Monsters came out. But yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if because we talked about this on the show on I believe it was the first episode of this show that we did, where we talked about a little bit about that, how it looks like Warner Brothers essentially were just kind of having a rejig of their entire schedule, and it looks like they decided to fill in the Matrix 4's release date with Godzilla vs. Kong, because that film is now not coming out until another year now. It's not coming out until, I believe, 2022 now. So yeah, definitely a shame the amount of stuff that's been pushed back, but like I said, at this point I think we will be lucky if anything comes out this year, because Tenet for a while was like the last hope, and even that got pushed back, and now that's not coming out. They're still sticking with that really close because it's coming out in August, so it's still not far away. But if Tenet gets pushed back one more time, I honestly, at that point, I think we can just kind of forget about any movies coming out in 2020, at least at this point, or on the, theatrically. But yeah, as to when we can expect a trailer, I don't know. Harv, when do you think we could expect a trailer now?
Probably next year, maybe early next year.
Yeah, not even this year, you think?
I don't think this year.
Yeah.
Have to be very late though, like literally before like the new year. Possibly
December, we could get a teaser if things in the world are looking good by then. But I don't think that I don't think that we can expect it any sooner than December, honestly. I think we'd be lucky if we can get it in December, because the first teaser for Godzilla King of the Monsters, that came out like almost a year before that movie came out. But I think that was partly due to it not doing quite as well, because the hype really kind of died down for that film. So I don't think we're going to get any kind of a trailer or poster or anything until maybe like 4 or 5 months really before the film comes out. I think they're gonna kind of not take as long drag it out as long this time. But anyway. So yeah, so there you go. I think that's pretty much it for today, you guys. So be sure to tune in again, same time next week, talking, all things the world of, movies and stuff. Harv, do you have any last thoughts before we go off the air here?
No, I thought all of the news that we said today was pretty interesting and exciting.
Definitely a bit of a slower week this week than last week, but
Oh yeah,
we're gonna have weeks like that, Yeah, so be sure to tune in next week, guys, and everything. So, and until next week, be sure to consume as much entertainment as humanly possible. And yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you later.